Welcome to this explainer. I want you to take just a second and look around you right now. Really picture this modern, built-up world you're sitting in. You're probably in a temperature-controlled room, maybe looking out a window at a paved street, a quiet neighborhood, or a towering skyline. It's comfortable, right? And you didn't have to fight a single wild beast to secure that comfort today. Well, we're going to change that. I want you to do a mental deletion process with me. Start wiping away literally everything a human hand has ever touched. Erase the concrete. Shatter the glass. Imagine the walls around you just crumbling away into dust. Silence that hum of the air conditioning. Rip down the power lines and extinguish every single artificial light. Keep going. Strip away those massive highways aggressively carving up the land. Delete the fences dividing up properties. Pull up those meticulously planted farms. Knock down the steel bridges spanning our rivers. And erase those perfectly manicured parks. We're wiping the slate entirely clean. Feel that absolute safety of the modern world? Poof. It's vanished into thin air. Delete it all. Because once you strip away that cozy modern safety net, what's left is the raw, totally untamed earth. And this was the awe-inspiring, chaotic, and downright terrifying starting line for humanity. The world we live in today? It's honestly a pale, quiet, emptied-out shell of what once existed. So today, we're going to dive headfirst into the intense sensory reality of the ancient human experience. Let's start with the visuals. When we think of the Sahara today, we picture a void, right? 9 million square kilometers of just unforgiving sand and baking rock. But jump back just 10,000 years ago, which by the way is a literal blink of an eye in evolutionary terms, and it was the Green Sahara. We're talking dense grasslands, sprawling tree canopies, and massive lakes. Early humans were actively hunting and fishing in these lush landscapes, right alongside hippos and crocodiles. The places we now consider to be the most hostile deserts on Earth were actually vibrant green ecosystems just bursting with life. And it wasn't just the ground that was radically different. Look up. Without a single electric light anywhere on Earth, there was absolutely zero light pollution. The night sky was so incredibly dark that the Milky Way blazed brightly enough to actually cast faint shadows on the ground. Can you imagine that? But the sky wasn't just a beautiful light show. It was a shared, highly functional calendar. Every human on the planet read the stars simultaneously to track the seasons and follow animal migrations. It was kind of like the original global internet written entirely in starlight. But you know, when the sun went down, that absolute darkness brought something else entirely. 2,000 pounds. Just let that number sit with you for a second. 2,000 pounds. That is the sheer weight of an apex predator that shared the continent with early humans. Meet the owner of that massive weight, the short-faced bear. This absolute monster stood 12 feet tall on its hind legs. 2,000 pounds of pure muscle stacked on long limbs built specifically for endurance running. And unlike modern bears that might happily munch on some berries or catch a fish, this guy was a hyper-carnivore. It ate meat and only meat. It could sprint at 40 miles per hour. Let's be brutally honest. If you were an ancient human and this creature locked eyes with you, you were already dead. We were strictly prey in a world completely built for giants. And our physical disadvantages? They were profound. Take the cave hyena, a beast much larger and stronger than any hyena around today. It packed a bone-crushing bite force of 1,100 pounds per square inch. They could casually snap solid femurs just to slurp out the marrow. And us? Our bite force tops out at around 162 pounds per square inch. That's barely enough to crunch a raw carrot. Compared to the predators of the ancient world, we were incredibly slow, profoundly weak, and practically defenseless. Our nails were useless, our teeth were flat, and to top it all off, we couldn't even see in the giant ground sloths that knuckle-walked and stretched 10 feet long. Glyptodons, the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, armored like heavily plated tanks. Over in Australia, humans were dodging megalania, a totally terrifying 7-meter-long monitor lizard. Down in the Americas, taro birds stood 10 feet tall, rocking beaks designed literally to shatter skulls. Everywhere we went, something massive, incredibly fast, and unimaginably powerful was actively trying to eat us. Section 1. The Wall of Sound. A planet alive and deafening. Okay, so we've talked about what the ancient world looked like, but we really need to talk about what it sounded like. Transitioning from those terrifying sights, we have to imagine the overwhelming, inescapable noise of a planet that was absolutely bursting at the seams with life. Our ancestors lived inside a relentless wall of sound. They were insect swarms, so dense they created literal walls of static noise. Billions of passenger pigeons would migrate all at once, their sheer numbers darkening the skies and creating this roaring, thunderous clapping of wings. Every single water source featured deafening, overlapping frog choruses. Rivers were so thick with massive salmon runs that the water appeared to be actively boiling, And out in the oceans, without the constant grinding hum of modern commercial ship engines masking everything, whale songs carried clearly for hundreds and hundreds of miles. For our ancestors, their nervous systems had to be perfectly tuned to this unrestrained symphony, because missing a single subtle shift in that wall of sound, like a snapped twig or a sudden eerie silence from the birds, could absolutely mean death. Section 2. The shift. Surviving as prey. So how in the world did a vulnerable, hairless, slow ape actually manage to turn the tide against all these apex killers? By every biological measure, we should have gone extinct. Seriously, no question. But we didn't. We engineered a massive shift by compounding 4 critical adaptations. Step 1. Controlled fire. A roaring campfire creates a 30-foot safety zone that predators are biologically hardwired to avoid. It finally gave us back the night. Step 2. Endurance. Sure, we are terrible sprinters, but humans can sweat, which means we can run for hours without overheating. We used persistent hunting, basically tracking animals at a steady jog until they just collapsed from heat stroke. Step 3. Pattern recognition. Our brains evolved to deeply read the environment. We tracked predators the exact same way we tracked prey, learning their routines and exploiting their blind spots. And step 4, honestly the most vital of all, caring for each other. We've unearthed ancient human skeletons of individuals who lived for years without teeth, or with completely shattered arms. That means their group actively chewed food for them, protected them, and kept them alive. We strategized, we invented throwing spears to keep our distance, and we weaponized human compassion and cooperation. Now look at this undeniable correlation. Around 50,000 years ago, humans began migrating globally out of Africa in huge waves. And just look at what follows right in our wake. 14,000 years ago, cave lions vanish. 11,000 years ago, short-faced bears vanish. 10,000 years ago, the saber-toothed cats disappear entirely. Everywhere human beings arrived, the mass of predators vanished within just a few thousand years. We didn't just survive them, we eliminated them. Now, while climate change absolutely played a role in this era, human adaptability allowed us to win the evolutionary arms race so completely that we effectively quieted down the entire planet. We can outbite them, so we outthought them. Every single biological weakness we had forced us to invent a clever solution, and over thousands of generations, we flipped the script. We went from being hunted prey to the undeniable apex predator of the entire globe. Think about the mighty mammoths, the enormous cave lions, and the giant sloths that used to roam our vibrant, loud, chaotic planet. I want to leave you with this really provocative thought. The world your ancestors inherited was full of giants. The world they left behind was not. I challenge you to look around at our pale, safe, emptied-out modern world today. It's incredibly comfortable for sure, but we really have to realize that our incredible adaptability and our very survival against totally insurmountable odds is exactly what costs the planet its wildness. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope you never look at a quiet night sky the exact same way again.